tools, there are two ways in which to do this. The one way is we click on the waffle over here. Once we've logged in, of course, we click on the waffle and then you'll see forms will be one of the options there. So if you click on that, it'll take you straight to this landing page for Google Forms. And now you can create a Google form. But those of you who would have attended our sessions on Google Fundamentals, I think especially in Fundamentals 3 and 4, this is an idea we really try and establish with you. It's better to go via your Drive, because otherwise we'll end up with a million forms just in your Drive and you won't know where to find them. So I like to go Google Drive, and then we're going to find a location. So I've got this training folder that I tend to just dump a lot of things in and then eventually end up deleting them again. So in here, I'm happy. This is where I want to create my form. So typically, if you've got a folder where you've got a lot of your work, you can split it according to classes. However you manage your files, managing your files is so important, because if you're not going to do it, you will never find your Google Forms again. So we're going to right click and you'll see there's all the different the Google applications, docs, sheets, slides, which some of you have already attended. We're going to go to Google Forms. And if I click on that, it takes me to the exact same, well, not exactly the same place, but it opens up a Google form for me so I can get going with my Google form. Right, so once we're in here, now we can start with our Google form. This is the basic part of the Google form. Here at the top, this is the file name, so we can call this whatever we want. Let's call this example form. And over here, we're going to just see that name just automatically copies. It works both ways. So if you call it example form here or example form there, it copies both ways. Something that I found that's quite useful, if it's a form that you're not going to complete, you want to revisit it, it's quite nice to kind of star it. If you remember the sessions in Google Fundamentals 2, when we looked at Google Drive, it's easier to find starred files, for example. So it's nice to star it while you're working with it, and then just to unstar it when you're done. Right, so there we've got a form set up. Now, under the name, the title example form, there's the slot where we can add a form description. If you want to, you can add it. If you don't want to, you don't need to add it. So we're just going to say this is just an example form. And that's it. So there's my start of my form. Now, at this point, if you want to, and you don't like the bland purple form, which is the default what's going to happen, you can just change the look of your form a little bit. In order to change the look of your form, over here where you see the little, when you call it the paint, that thing, the paint palette. So we can click on that and it opens up the theme options where I can change my Google form a little bit. Please note, you can change it a little bit. It's one of the things that sometimes people get a little bit frustrated because you're very limited in the appearance of your form. But over here, you can change it to whatever you want. So here you get to choose an image. When you choose an image, you can upload something. They've got a couple of pre-made themes. You can upload something. Something that's quite useful, a little trick that I can show, that I can tell you about, but I'm not going to show you how to do it. Go and explore on your own. Is it has the option for photos. So what I'd sometimes do is some of the things that I use a lot, I'll just load it to my photos. So you just go to photos.google.com and you can just upload a couple of banner things there that you might want to use. This is especially useful on a school account. I wouldn't do it on my personal account because there's a million other photos there that I don't want in here. But let's just take this one as an example. I'm going to insert it. This one is one that I already edited to be the correct size. And now we've got a header for our form. What Google will do is it'll evaluate this image and it'll try and pick up the colors that are being used. So I can now choose the different colors that I want to use. So I want to let's use a kind of bluish look for it. You can also, if you don't like that and you want to go a little bit crazy, you can obviously add any kind of color that you want. Even if it's not related to the header image at all. But we're going to go to something that's a little bit more pleasant on the eye. Right, so there's my form. Now I've got the look of my form right. two other things, or one other thing that I can show you. You can also change the font if you want to. Generally speaking, well, not generally speaking, I have never used another font than the basic one. They've got basic, decorative, formal, and playful. Playful, I think, is quite nice for forms that are linked or that are going to be completed by your primary school learners, foundation phase learners, etc. They will probably like it a little bit nice. It's a bit more pleasing on the eye for them. But for what I always use it, I just use the basic. I find formal and decorative sometimes not so easy to read. So I just keep to basic. I'm happy with that. So now we've got the look of our form set up. Let's have a look at the different types of questions we can add.